much of this video series so far has been about handling the personal lie in terms of how it affects you emotionally. And I mean you personally, of course. So, feeling not good enough, feeling not wanted, feeling not fill in the blank enough. It's a measuring and comparing, and we automatically feel less than when we buy into the personal lie. And much, or if not, most of this video series so far has simply been about shifting that feeling so that we can enjoy being ourselves. Because, it's no fun being human if all you think about is how not good enough you are or how not wanted you are. That is shifting. And it should already be shifting for you from watching the videos and doing the exercises. But there is another side to this. And the other side is the prevention of change. Ego is there because we felt disconnected at birth. And that's true for most of us. Ego is there as a substitute for our connection to mom, and it's there as a substitute for our connection to source. When we feel disconnected, that's when ego shows up. And we feel disconnected when we are trying something new. Because your life is about familiarity. Everybody in your life who's been in your life already, and the things that you do are all built upon things that you've done in the past. Your friends are your friends because they've been in your life, and they're probably good people too. However, that familiarity is what ego trusts, and it's that familiarity that is our security blanket, it's our safety blanket to keep us feeling okay when we're disconnected. And it's possible that you have felt disconnected your whole life. It's also possible that you only feel disconnected sometimes. However, in both of those instances, it's ego who has made us feel our personal lie. And when we feel the personal lie, then we feel that disconnection. And then ego says, aha, I told you the personal lie was true because you're disconnected. But it's a vicious circle. And you stop it yourself. You can't sit around and wait for ego to just stop hitting you with that nonsense. Ego shows up to tell you your personal lie or to remind you of your personal lie when you are ready for change. So while on one hand the workshop is about feeling better about yourself, the bigger picture here is that this workshop is actually about teaching your inner wisdom, about teaching your body, about the safety of change and the safety of expansion and the safety of being connected and of feeling connected all the time. When you're feeling connected to the rest of the universe, then there's no need for ego to jump in and make you feel crappy, right? Unless you haven't done the exercises and you haven't been paying attention to the videos, in which case, yeah, ego might jump up and is not going to enjoy the connection, won't trust it, and will somehow make you feel that you don't deserve it. So this work, or the other side of this work, it's about noticing when change is going to happen. And when change is going to happen, it's about following through. Because our bodies trust repetition, if you repeat following change, and if you repeat changing, if you date somebody who's completely different than all the people you've ever dated before, or if you take a job that is not in your field of expertise, you pick up a sport you've never tried before but you've been interested in, anything brand new is going to activate your personal lie. And when it does, that is really good news. And that's what makes this work fun. Because what happens is, ego or that voice will pop up and say, well, you're not good enough to do that. Or those people don't want you here. They don't recognize you. That voice is simply attempting to prevent change. But you can use it as a marker. When you hear that voice, you can pat yourself on the shoulder that you've gotten far enough along that your ego is freaking out that you're getting into unknown territory. So you can actually start embracing the unknown territory by embracing that voice. When that voice shows up and says, or asks you, are you sure that you're wanted here? You can say, well, I'm not going to know unless I find out, right? unless you jump in and find out. And then you get to find out that people are really excited to have you, right? And if you try something new and he goes like, well, are you sure you're good enough to do that? Right? If you listen to it, you'll just leave and you won't pursue that new activity. But if you acknowledge it and say, oh, I'm feeling not good enough right now, I better go find out what this is, you can jump in, try the new experience. And you know what? If you've never played soccer before and you get on the team and you run out on the field and you go to kick the ball and you land flat on your face, well, guess what? Ego's going to tell you, one, that proves that you're not good enough and that you should go home and leave soccer, not play anymore. But that's silly. Of course you're going to fall on your face. It's okay. It's called learning. And learning is part of change. Allow yourself the process of growth. Allow yourself to fall on your face once in a while. And at the same time, acknowledge that all those thoughts that come with it aren't real. They're just based on a lie. And that lie is based on a lack of information. Nobody had enough information to create a valid negative truth about you way back when. It was a lack of information that makes it untrue. So when the border guard comes up and asks you if you're sure that this is something you want to do, recognize that that is there to prevent change. It also means that you're right on the cusp of changing and right on the cusp of expanding. So that is a great marker, and it's good to just acknowledge it. Repetition of getting past that border guard, right? It's a border guard because when you get up to the edge of change, it shows up and wants to see your papers. Show me your papers that prove that you're wanted here, right? Show me your papers that prove to me that you're good enough. When you get past the border guard, when you take a step past, pat him on the head and say thank you, and then walk past, you are repeating the enjoyment of change. And your body is going to recognize that. And it will not take very long at all for your body, your inner wisdom, to start embracing change and to begin discontinuing listening to ego all the time. So remember, your intuition whispers, your ego screams, and that border guard can be really scary, especially if you're trying something you've never ever tried before. Acknowledge what it is, it'll lose its strength, and then step forward into that new place. And you will discover something fantastic. And that is, one, you are wanted there. Two, you probably are good enough to do whatever it is you're thinking of, otherwise you wouldn't have thought of it. And three, this is all part of the fun. And, by fun, I mean it's just part of being alive. So this expansion, if you have any questions, repeat the videos, send your questions in, and trust the repetition. The first time you do something, ego's not going to trust it, right? There's going to be all kinds of debate. Oh, I knew they wouldn't like you. That girl looked at you funny. Don't go there again. It's all nonsense. Repeat moving forward, and that voice will quiet down. When you go past that border guard enough times, the border guard eventually is going to see you walking away. And instead of standing in front of you trying to stop you from changing, the border guard will end up following you and watching your back. And that is where we're going with this. We're training ego to watch our back and to keep us expanding and growing and loving. And that retraining takes repetition. And the repetition it takes is you walking past the border. Because when you walk past the border, all ego can see is your back, and that's what it'll watch. So I get that's a metaphor. It'll make more sense to you once you finish the video series and watch it again. Thank you.